Heard your conversation with Aeneas Williams on the NFL Legends podcast. You spoke passionately there too about unity. It seems like, man, that seems like it's a simple concept that everyone should want equality for all. Why do you think it's taking us so long to get there?
Well, there are a lot of factors that that go into um, the fact that we just haven't been able to be equal, plain and simple. And we talk about systematic things that from the economic spectrum to the housing spectrum. The equality thing has never been there from the beginning. And yes, there's been policies put in place to help, obviously, people of color, but there's still so many more things that we are missing. And, that's why we always talk about that activism. It's a lifelong fight because, just like the game of football, you try to get first downs most of the time to keep the ball and keep matriculating the ball down the field. You try to get first downs, to use a football metaphor or analogy, I should say. It's the same way with if things have been a certain way for 400 years, there's no way that they can just change overnight. And so there are little things that we have to do along the way to help push that ball more closer to equality. And so, there's no question about it. We have come a long way. This is not 400 years ago. This is not 300 years ago. But there are certainly things that we see now that there's still a fight that we want to do better as a country. And it's going to take everyone unifying on the same front and doing whatever we can to change legislation. That's where it's going to start at.
Awareness has been raised. Players across all the sports leagues, they're doing a great job leading that fight for social justice. You talk about the legislation. What do you think the players, the athletes can do beyond protest to move things forward, like a call to action?
Yeah, well, I think the athletes have a lot of power, as we're seeing. They have a lot of influence, especially in their own communities that they come from. They have the biggest microphone in their communities. So create dialogue with their local elected officials, mayors, district attorneys. These athletes, our athletes, can call on these people in their towns to have better communication between obviously the neighborhood and elected officials, police unions, and police districts all over the country. I think that relationship can be better. And at the end of the day, it's just about communication and training at the end of the day. So I think if athletes continue to speak up about certain things that are going on in their community, but then they take that speaking up, as I mentioned, to town hall meetings, and also to try to push more legislation in their own local communities first. A lot of times, to be honest with you, we don't understand locally how our officials are set up, how we elect our officials in our own local towns. We don't understand the structure of how that works. And so that's where a lot of things are passed at the local level first before it can become state level, and then obviously at a national level.
We know how important it is for players to use the platform that they have to try to effectuate positive change, but not everybody sees that viewpoint, LaDainian. What do you say to the shut up and play crowd?
Well, honestly, I don't know if there's anything you can say to certain people that believe what they believe. But you just got to keep trying to educate people on the fact that this is the reason why we're doing this. This is what this is about. You keep on pushing that message of positive change and unifying one another and being all in together, you keep on pushing that message. But at the end of the day, certain people are going to feel the way they're going to feel. And that's okay. That's what makes, America great. But at the same time, I think most people want equality. Most people want things to be fair. And so I think eventually, I've thought about this. I think sometimes it takes, someone of your same color, meaning another Caucasian person, to have that dialogue and call out someone of the same, color, right?
Yes.
You have to do that sometimes. Say, listen, I'm a Caucasian person just like you. This is not right. We know it's not right. And then sometimes that does changes people's ideas. So maybe that could work.
I agree, man. It comes better from someone like me having that conversation. And I think it's incumbent upon people like me to have those conversations with others who aren't seeing the same viewpoint and educating them and saying, like, why does it bother you so much? Like, what is the problem here? What are you not understanding? Man, I've had those difficult conversations, and
it's difficult.
It's not easy. It's not easy. And sometimes people, you might lose relationships over it. You might lose friendships over it. But at the end of the day, it's about really trying to bring a positive change to the world. How cool is it to have that platform with Aeneas and the NFL Legends podcast? Because, it's in your case, in his case, it's two guys who put on that gold jacket, sitting there and just having that conversation and being able to chat like that, and a platform like he has.
That's the coolest thing, because it keeps us connected. It keeps us, with one mindset, with the same synergy of what we should be doing at this time. Even though we're retired and we don't play no more, and maybe the spotlight is not always on us, it's great for us to still have a voice that people want to listen to. People want to hear from the legends, the guys that made this game, that, made the game what it is today. And so I think anytime you can get guys that have impacted their communities, the football field, and this nation as a whole, it's great to have that dialogue. But more importantly, I believe it's great. It's a great outlet for guys that are not Hall of Fame guys, guys that played in the leagues 8, 9, 10 years, but maybe not at their level to be a Hall of Famer. Even having that opportunity to talk to Aeneas Williams, that is something that, it energizes guys. Because how many times do we hear when guys leave the game, they're lost. They don't have, nothing to really motivate them anymore to get out of bed. And they just feel like, the world has forgotten about them. Well, they have a story too. We all have a story, and it's good that they can tell their story on that platform.
I mentioned that incredible Hall of Fame speech you gave. You said it was something you were really proud of, man. I could point to so many statements that you made in there that resonated with a lot of people. I'm going to tell you one of my favorites. You said, I've had a very personal relationship with God. Now, I always talk about faith being a relationship with Christ, not just a religion. Can you describe that personal relationship that you refer to in your speech? Because sometimes people don't understand when we talk about relationship with the Lord.
Yeah, I think first off, I believe I believe in the spirit person. It's that spirit that lives inside of us. That's God. That's God's spirit. And so I think religion to me is a practice. Like people, they practice religion. They might not necessarily, have the spirit, have God's spirit and led by the spirit, but they have their religion. It's their practice. Every Sunday, every Wednesday, they're going to church. And that's okay, but in order to become the best that you can absolutely be and be who God wants you to be, you got to tap inside that spirit person, that God that's inside of you, and it's a personal walk. I can't tell you what your relationship is going to be like with God. You have to spend the time. You have to spend the time talking to him and meditating and praying, about what he wants for your life. And so the reason why I say that is at the age of 14, there was a prophecy on my life. And it said, God will take you places you never imagined if you trust him and you gave him the credit at every step of the way. And I promise you, if that hasn't been the truth, I'm a kid from a small country town. No one ever made it to the National Football League. No one ever made it to the Hall of Fame or anything. So that belief in God, I had to have a personal relationship because I believe when he told me that. And every step of the way, he has taken me places I never imagined. And I have continued to say it's because of God. It's because of him that lives inside of me that I was able to do all these things.
Amen. Beautiful. Truth. You've received so many awards, accolades, accomplishments, Hall of Fame. You also were Walter Payton Man of the Year. Where does that rank for you? Because it is such a special honor. It's not about what you do on the field or what you did on the field. It's about community. It's about everything you do off to be the best person you can be.
Well, it's the highest award. It's right up there next to things like the MVP and the Hall of Fame bust. In fact, in my house, it sits way up with the bust. It's next to the bust because to me, that's how important it is and was during my playing career. Simply because, I've always had a deep, deep love for my own community, where I came from. I don't know. I was the heartbeat of my own community, I felt. Those kids there looked up to me, and I wanted to inspire them like someone inspired me. So I always felt like I was doing it for them. And so early on, I started to go back. When I played, I started going back and giving back in my community. And honestly, that passion started in college. And it just kind of evolved, man. When I got to the National Football League in San Diego, being in the locker room with the great Junior Seau, it changed my life because I saw a man that was, obviously talented on the football field. He can do everything, but how generous he was with his time in the community, how he was such a role model to so many kids in the community. He spent as much time in the community as he did at the football field or at the complex. And so having someone like that to give me an example, it just further, energized my passions inside to do more in my own community.
You mentioned the Chargers. How weird is it going to be this year to see Phillip Rivers wearing a different uniform, man, on the Colts? It's certainly with him, with Tom Brady. It fits. It fits 2020, right? It's been a strange year for everybody, but
absolutely, it's going to be a little weird because the other day I was just looking at when they had their scrimmage, and I'm looking. I said, man, that horseshoe on the side of Phillip's helmet, it looks weird, But the same movement, the mechanics that I've seen for so long, the throwing motion, it's Phillip, it's him. But it's going to take a little while to get used to him being in that uniform, as well as Tom Brady, to seeing him and Gronk, down in Tampa now, talking to Bruce Arians. That's kind of weird.
LaDainian, before I let you go, which NFL running backs do you enjoy watching the most? Is there anybody that reminds you a little bit of the way you played the game?
Well, I think a couple of guys do. So I like, obviously, Christian McCaffrey has been, he's been amazing. The ability to, to do as much as he does, meaning he plays over 95% of the snaps. When you think about that, that's an insane number for a running back. That means he rarely comes off the field. So for him to be able to keep up that type of workload and stay healthy and then to be able to do everything that he does, it's pretty amazing to watch. Saquon Barkley is another guy that I like to watch. I think those two probably remind me of myself the most because Saquon has the lateral movement, to be able to hop from one hole to the next, that low center of gravity. And then obviously Christian being versatile, being able to run routes out the backfield and all those things. So those two guys I probably enjoy the most.
I'll give you another guy who I see it, I think sometimes, because I'm in Philly, so I see him on a daily basis, Miles Sanders. Young guy, he kind of reminds me, obviously he's got a long way to go to fill your kind of shoes, but you paid attention to him at all?
I have, absolutely. Miles had a terrific year last year. And, the question is, will Doug give him the ball? Because, man, he shows so much talent last year that I really think he can be the centerpiece of that offense and really help Carson Wentz out. I absolutely agree with you. I hope that he gets the opportunity to be the guy. Give him the rock. Let's see how good he can really be because I think he has greatness in him.
LaDainian, man, I really appreciate your time. I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for sharing.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you.